Good afternoon. This is just the most incredible day, isn't it? It's a little warm, but for an Americana festival, what a day. It's perfect. I believe you are right. Wasn't that a great parade this morning? I would think that would rank among the top of all time. I thought it was just outstanding. As I said at the parade, this is my hometown where I grew up, but I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma now, and I come from Tulsa for this, to be a part of this, because I think Centerville, Ohio is the best place in America to be on the 4th of July. And it's a lot because of the beautiful buildings and trees in Benham's Grove, but it's mostly because of you all. So I want to thank you for welcoming me back here to my hometown. My name is Jeff Dunn, and we have a very special guest who is going to be joining us here in just a couple of minutes. My camera died this morning. My digital camera that I love, it just decided that today it was going to take a holiday. And I thought, my goodness, this is one of my favorite days of the year. I want a good camera to take pictures with. So right after the parade, my brother-in-law hopped in a car and drove up to the Beaver Creek Mall area. I call it the Beaver Creek Mall. There's another name to it, but I think you all know what I mean, Beaver Creek Mall. Went up to some stores up there, got a camera, and on the way back, Air Force One went right over top of us. And so President Bush had concluded, and I knew then that Senator Glenn would be on his way here to visit with us. In just a few minutes, I'm going to be introducing actually our mayor, and then Senator Glenn will be up following Mayor Beals. This is an all-day affair here for us in Centerville. We've got the incredible festival going on out there, and I swear I could gain 3 pant sizes on the main street out there today with all that great food. But it doesn't stop here this afternoon. Go home, take a little bit of a rest, get a little bit of dinner, and then, if you're still hungry after all this great food here, and then plan to be with us at the football stadium tonight. The entertainment starts, I believe, at 8:30 this evening. The gates will open around 7 if you want a really good seat. And then fireworks start at 10. For those of you who have never seen Centerville Americana Festival fireworks, you're in for a treat. These aren't your general carnival fireworks. These are genuinely better than you will see at Disneyland, Disney World, or even, should I say, Kings Island. Apparently, every once in a while, they fire off fireworks at the Great American Ballpark when the Reds win, but not too often this year. So this event doesn't just happen. There are so many people and so many sponsors that make today special and make today happen. And as I encouraged you at the parade, find those who are wearing Americana Festival shirts, thank them for their hard work, because they literally work all year long to make this one day happen. They will take a break. A week from now, they will meet again to talk about what went well and what they can improve on, and they start that night working on the next Americana Festival. But right now, this afternoon's event with our incredible guest speaker who will be joining us in just a minute, this event is brought to you by the Centerville Americana Festival and the Centerville Washington Township Historical Society. And so I think that at the very least, let's give both of these organizations a round of applause for what they're doing here.
We are deeply honored today to have John and Annie Glenn with us for our Americana festivities. The Glenns are well known to us all for their dedication to our state and to our nation. John is a veteran of World War II and the Korean War, where he flew numerous combat missions. He has logged 9,000 hours in flight. John was the first man to orbit the Earth on February the 20th, 1962, and returned in 1998. He has spent 218 hours in space. After retiring from the military, he entered politics and was elected to the U.S. Senate from Ohio in 1974, where he served 6 terms, retiring in 1998. Glenn is serving as Secretary General of Inventing Flight 2003, and John and Annie have 2 grown children and 2 grandchildren. Please help me welcome John Glenn.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very, very much. I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate that very glowing introduction. It's a little bit like a dinner Annie and I attended not too long ago in Columbus, and the person introducing me gave every accolade, every accomplishment, things I never dreamed of doing in this life or the next, and finished up this overgenerous introduction by saying, "There are few truly great men in this world," and then he introduced me. Now that's rather heady stuff. And going home that night, I guess I was still thinking about that introduction, and I said, "You know, Annie, if you think about it, there aren't very many really, truly great men in this world." And took her about 2 seconds to say, "Let me tell you something, there's sure one less than you think there is." So I wanted to introduce Annie. I also wanted to make sure we understood something too. The last space flight I made in 1998, there was some misconception about some of that. It's not true that NASA would not let me go out and do a spacewalk because they were afraid at my age I might wander off someplace. It's also not true that I was the oldest person to ever leave Florida in something other than a Winnebago also, so anyway. But I'm sorry we couldn't be here earlier today. We were planning to be here for the parade and participate earlier and be with you then. But I think, as you all know, the president came in up at Wright Pat, and they wanted us to be up there and be there to greet him and to convey our welcome to him on behalf of Inventing Flight, the group that I've been involved with, of course, in Dayton for several years as they get ready to put that whole thing on. But so we weren't able to be here, but glad we could come down now and share a few thoughts here with you today anyway. Your celebration here is a great one. It's so typically American and typical of where, just like Annie and I grew up in New Concord, Ohio, down the eastern end of the state. And this was much like 4th of July down there when we were kids growing up. So it brings back a lot of memories, a lot of nostalgia for us down there too. The 4th of July means a lot to us because it was a beginning. It was a start. It was just a start. And there were so many things happened after that. 1776, that we celebrate, the 4th of July 1776, was followed, though, wasn't just a revolution, it was followed by some things that were so important that have built this country and left us in as leaders in the whole world. And that's the Constitution that was put together in 1787. And that Constitution became so unique in the history of this world because it did one thing. It made each person the most important thing that government had to deal with. Each person. It wasn't that the people were responsible to government. The government was responsible to the people. And to make that work, it meant that everybody then had to participate in government. And that's what, well, some of my Senate years, in the last years in there, I became very concerned about some of the things with regard to cynicism and apathy and people that really didn't care about government and politics or participating in what this country is all about. And that's one reason we started the Institute for Public Service and Public Policy at Ohio State University in Columbus. And we spend about half our time working there with students and have a Washington internship program and some things like that. If we went to the Archives building in Washington, if we could all play Star Trek here, and I'd say, beam me up, Scotty, as they used to do there, and they beam them up and come down someplace else. If we could all do that right now and come down on the front steps of the Archives building in Washington, D.C., and all walk in through that rotunda, and there's the Constitution of the United States, the most unique document in governance ever put forward in all human history, I believe. And I don't think there'll be many people who would disagree with that. It gives more to guarantee people's future than any document ever put forward. And we go over there, and there's the real first document. It was all handwritten out on that parchment they had back in those days, and we almost revere that. It almost takes on mystical qualities as you look at it, and it's so sacred to us that we even protect it in nitrogen and put it up and down into a vault at night just to make sure that it's protected. There were 22 copies of that Constitution were made later on and sent out all over the country into different organizations, but that's the original one right there. But you know, if we might just as well take that document outside and burn it on the front steps, unless there are people willing to be active in government and politics and try and take those words off paper and make them come true for everybody in this country. And we're still a long ways from accomplishing that. We still have so much yet to do to make all those words that were guarantees for every single person, every individual, make those things come true. Whatever your background, whatever your race, your creed, your color is in this country, we have a long ways to go to make that come true for everybody. And so I view the interest in government and our political parties as being the personnel department for that Constitution, for getting the people in there to do those things. And that comes back to right here and now, and your interest in community and state and nation and having an interest. And when people lose interest in the Constitution of the United States and are not willing to really work to support those things that it stands for, then we're becoming less of a nation than we could otherwise be. So that's the personnel department for the Constitution. We say it in a different way sometimes when we use our pledge to the flag. And we use those words, and sometimes we go through the first part of that pledge, and it's at a dinner or it's something, and we sort of let our minds wander. But then we come down to those words that really mean a lot. And we say, one nation. We're never going to get split up again. And we say, under God. Now, how many places in the world have that in their documents of governance? Some do, but they say one God, and they insist it's going to be the God that they say, and that's it. But not here. We say we're free. And it makes no difference whether you're Catholic or Protestant or Hindu or Muslim, or whether you believe in the Great Spirit or whatever you believe in. We say that your beliefs and your relationship to a higher power that we recognize, that's up to you. You're free. And that's not something that I find anywhere else. Annie and I have been fortunate to travel all over the world, and that's not something I've seen anywhere else in this whole world where we've traveled. But under that, we say, what I hope we would say was, whatever our beliefs are, that we'd somehow pray for guidance in how we should live with each other and how we carry out those mandates of the Constitution. Because we don't say how they'll be carried out, but if we just prayed for some guidance and had sense enough to keep quiet enough to listen a little bit, maybe we can get that kind of guidance for the future. I guess we go back to Lincoln's day, and then somebody said, about God being on their side. Lincoln said he thought what we should be concerned about with us being on God's side, not the other way around. And I think that's the way to put it. And then we say indivisible, not going to get split up again with that pledge. And then come words with liberty and justice for all. Liberty and justice for all. Words we glibly roll off our tongues, and liberty and justice for all. Liberty of what? Liberty to be free like a wolf or a wild thing and go, rip, tear, scream, do whatever. That kind of liberty, complete freedom, no. One time when I was running for the United States Senate, we had an all-candidates night in Columbus. And one of the women that was on the program that night was a woman running on the Libertarian ticket. Now, she got up and said that she is a libertarian. She believes that we have too many laws, and it even irks her made her unhappy when she had to stop for a red light because that impinged on her freedom. And when I got up, I encouraged her to carry out her convictions and drive right on through, and we'd have one less candidate to worry about. I don't think she did that, but anyway. The liberty we're talking about is not that kind of liberty to do whatever you want without regard to anybody else. It's the liberty in this country of opportunity, the liberalization of opportunity, providing a way for every person to have the kind of opportunity where they can build their own life, where they can grow, where they can be concerned about their own health, their work, their vocation. They can change work, change jobs, they can marry, not marry, decide what they want. In other words, they're free to change, they're free to determine their own life. And that's something that is completely unique, free to develop their own talents and capabilities. That's the kind of opportunity. Opportunity and justice for all. We're a long ways from determining equality. We're having equality applied to everybody, whatever your economics background is. Were you poor, were you rich, whatever, you have the same rights, race, creed, color, religious beliefs, whatever. That's what we talk about on equality of race and creed and tolerance, of treating everyone fairly, of being able to have everyone share in this dream that is this country. You know, we're celebrating the Wright brothers now, their 100th year anniversary. They were free to do what they wanted to do. Up the road a little ways in Dayton, bicycle shop. Had an interest in looking at this thing, watched the birds, wondered out, as people had throughout the ages, going clear back to Da Vinci or the fabled Icarus, who supposedly put feathers on, flew so high and close to the sun, the wax melted and the feathers fell off and killed him. Well, people have always had an interest in flying, and yet nobody had ever been able to do it. And yet the Wright brothers, watching the birds, took this unique freedom they had right here to be curious and to exercise that curiosity and to try and find out whether they could maybe fly. And so they did glider flights, one after the other. And they got information that went clear back to the Chinese of a couple of thousand years ago, flying kites and writing down information about which kite worked the best. And they studied those, and they studied so many other things. And some of the lift and drag tables of airfoils that they had at that time proved to be insufficient. And so what did they do? Here were the Wright brothers up there. They took a bicycle, took another bicycle wheel, and mounted it horizontally on the handlebars so that it was free to rotate on the handlebars. Then they put different shaped airfoils sticking up like this to see what lift and drag they could get as they then pedaled the bicycle to see which one of these made the bicycle wheel go the best or would carry the weights on the other side of the bicycle wheel the best. They were curious, questing people, which is one of our characteristics as Americans, is how we can do things differently and how we can do them better. And they were willing to put their efforts into looking into that. That resulted then in Kitty Hawk. And think what happened after that. You know, after a couple of years in which they had to get their patents straightened out, after going only 31 miles per hour during that flight at Kitty Hawk, it was only 44 years later that Chuck Yeager went faster than the speed of sound, over 700 miles an hour. At sea level, the speed of sound is about 760. And at the altitude he was up there, it goes down to about 670, something like that, at 35, 40,000 feet. But Chuck Yeager exceeded the speed of sound, something that many of our people, many physicists and learned people thought could not be done. But it was only 66 years from the sands of Kitty Hawk to the dust of the moon as Neil Armstrong, good Ohio boy also, set off and made that first step on the moon, the first time that any human being had ever set foot on any place other than Earth. A great day. It was a changed world. I hope our young people, as we celebrate this 100th anniversary of the Wright brothers, I hope our young people can share that same curiosity, or can become imbued with that same kind of curiosity, whether it's going to be in flying or space or whatever they want to go into, whatever their own interests are. That kind of curiosity about whether we can change things, whether we can learn the new, that curiosity has been at the heart of every bit of human progress that's ever been made. And here we are in a country where the children can exercise that kind of curiosity. So I'm hoping that during this celebration that we have that is centered up here in Dayton, right next door to you, that we can have a lot of attendance of our young people, because there's so many exhibits up there that excite them, that get their curiosity going. If you want to tune in on that, I'll make the commercial right here. If you have a computer at home, you can get all the schedule for everything going on up there in Dayton during the next couple of weeks. In fact, over the rest of this year as we celebrate the Wright brothers centennial. It's www.inventingflight.org. Very simple, inventingflight.org. So you can tune in and find out what all is going on. The 4th of July, to go back to where we started, the 4th of July is where this whole thing started. It's what gave us the freedom to do other things. It let us make a constitution. It let our people have a constitution that gave everybody the freedom, more than ever in the history of this world, to exercise their right to be self-determining as to what their future was going to be, as to what they were going to become. And that's something is so unique. I think whatever your political beliefs, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever, I think everybody owes it in supporting of that Constitution to be active and support whatever your political beliefs are. Because that's where we put the people behind what that Constitution has the potential to provide. So I think we can look forward to it if we just can imbue our kids today with even the same kind of curiosity the Wright brothers had in all the different fields that they'll be interested in. That's the best guarantee we can possibly have for the future. So have a great 4th. Been good to be here with you today, and thank you very much. Thank you.